Hey, it's Jazz at Red Panda Reads. Life is pretty challenging at the moment, I would say. I personally have days where I feel absolutely fine, and then days when I don't want to get out of bed in the morning. And I then feel guilty about not getting out of bed, and I know that getting out of bed and doing exercise and all these things would probably make me feel better. But it's not as easy as just getting up. And I think a lot of us at the moment are feeling the same. Like, we in the UK at the moment are in lockdown, and I'm 100% agreeing with this lockdown. We need it, but doesn't stop it being difficult. And sometimes I'm just not okay. And I think many people feel the same way. So this video is a little selection of books that I put together that during the pandemic have made me feel like all warm and cozy and fuzzy, and some of them hopeful that we're gonna get out of this mess because we're living in a pandemic. What the heck? Who would have thought? So I wanted to give you guys some recommendations of potential books you could look into reading if you just kind of want that warm, cozy feeling. Yeah. So let's get started. I promise you this is not vodka. So first up we have Sourdough by Sloan. This book is... Sorry, let's restart. First up we have Sourdough by Sloan. This book was an absolute gem. And the reason that I'm recommending it is not only is it an incredibly cozy story that makes you want to be surrounded on all sides by baked goods, but it also emphasises that in this very career-driven world, you may find yourself going in a completely unexpected direction, and at any point in your life you could find the path that's right for you. It follows Lois, who is a young programmer who moves to San Francisco to start working on robotic arms, and she is gifted with a sourdough starter. And the story follows her as she learns how to bake and also how to look after this sourdough starter, which is not quite as straightforward as most starters. It's almost got a science fiction element to it. For one thing, this sourdough is incredibly needy. It needs so much attention. And secondly, it reacts to how you treat it. If you treat it bad, it's not going to be very happy. And it's just such a weird and quirky and wonderful concept. And I loved this book, and it's a real feel-good read. Though I need to admit something to you guys. I think sourdough is overrated. I know, I just think there are better breads. I'm sorry. Regardless, I kind of now want to have my own little sourdough starter to look after. The next book is a book that was a reread for me this year, and I'm so glad I read it. It is the beautiful, the magical Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This book is probably one of the most beautiful books I have ever read. It follows two young magicians who are put in a competition against each other by their masters, and the stage for this competition is a circus. And the description in this book is just breathtaking. And one of the reasons it was a fantastic read for me and made me feel so, I guess, happy was it's very immersive. It transports you from this world we are currently living in to this magical circus in this novel, which is a magical realism novel. And I want to read to you some sections in the beginning of the book, because there are parts of this book that I've written in second person, which makes it even more immersive. Okay. The circus arrives without warning. No announcements precede it, no paper notices on downtown posts and billboards, no mention or advertisements in local newspapers. It is simply there, when yesterday it was not. You are amongst them, of course. Your curiosity got the better of you, as curiosity it wants to do. You stand in the fading light, scarf around your neck, pulled up against the chilly evening breeze, waiting to see for yourself exactly what kind of circus only opens once the sun sets. So I can feel myself there, wearing a scarf, the chill breeze against my skin, the anticipation of going into this wondrous, gorgeous circus that defies reality. And it's beautiful. Next up, I have a comic, which is a comic based on the online D&D show that got me into playing Dungeons and Dragons. And of course, that is Vox Machina Origins by Critical Role. Critical Role is this incredible group of voice actors who play D&D live on the internet. And what amazed me about watching Dungeons and Dragons being played by this group of hilarious, charming people was how incredible and in-depth the stories were, considering these stories are influenced by the roll of a dice, and also just how funny it was. This show is something that will make me laugh out loud, and it's exactly what I do need at the moment. And this comic is based on the characters that these voice actors play and the origin story of each of them. And it is actually written by Matt Mercer, who is the dungeon master in the show, and then it's also got 3 other contributors: Matthew Colville, Chris Northrop, and Olivia Samson. And just like watching D&D, this comic is fun. The characters are charming. There's a bit of like hack and slashing in it, but it's just a wonderful, joyous, fun fantasy adventure. And what I want to say as well is there is so much character progression in the show. You can really see how the characters' personalities change and form, and how bonds and friendships and enemies are made. And if you're interested in Dungeons and Dragons, I would really recommend Critical Role as a great place to start. The last 2 books I want to recommend are books that I have on audio tape. And the first of those is a science fiction, which is A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This book is a beautiful crafted journey following a number of individuals on a spaceship as they complete a job which involves them flying a very, very long distance to a small angry planet. And the focus of this book is very much the characters, the cultures, the places they go, the people they meet, the different alien species. And Becky Chambers has managed to create such wonderful communities in this book, and they're so diverse and interesting, and I absolutely love what she's done. I think the reason I'm recommending this book is I'm someone who really enjoys character progression and character focused plots, and this very much does that. And all the characters on this ship are so charming. If you've seen Firefly, which is a TV program which I absolutely adored, which kind of to describe in a sentence is cowboys in space, this is what this book reminds me of. And while I'm at it, if you want a sci-fi series to watch, I would really recommend Firefly. So the last book, well, books, because it's a series that I would recommend, and I've done a whole video telling the world how much I love this series, is Nevermoor by Jessica Townsend. I've talked about these books a lot, so I will be brief, but it is a middle grade fantasy series following Morgan Crow, who is a young girl who is born on a date that means she is a cursed child, and on her 11th birthday she expects to be killed. However, she ends up running away, well, being rescued, you should say, by Jupiter North, this eccentric hotel owner who takes her to the wonderful magical world of Nevermoor, where she ends up being taken on lots of different adventures. And it is charming, it is magical, it is whimsical, it is fun. I saw an interview where Jessica Townsend just said basically she had all these ridiculous ideas and just tried to cram them all together, and they just slotted together perfectly. And I love her writing so much. One thing to note is the third book, Hollowpox, is set in a pandemic, and it was written prior to our pandemic, and it was delayed in publishing. But what I found reading that is there were many parallels in that novel to what we are experiencing at the moment. But by the end of the book, Jessica had given me hope that we are going to get through this together. We are going to be okay, and that this pandemic is going to come to an end. And so, although initially I went into that book with a few reservations because I'm not really feeling pandemic-y reads at the moment, it actually made me feel incredibly warm and fuzzy afterwards, and more, basically, yeah, it made me feel hopeful. So those are all my books that I've been recommending. I'll put descriptions of them all below. Lovely to talk to you guys, and stay safe out there. I'm sending love to all of you in this really, really difficult time. And, you know, follow me on Instagram, pop me a message. I'm always happy for a chat. And take care. Bye bye.